It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Oh, hello there, howdy ho there. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Nice to have you with us. We got a couple of guests today, both filmmaker, directors, and we've got some music to play. First guest up is Joey Travolta. And if the last name sounds familiar, then yes, you are correct. He is in fact the brother of John Travolta. He's got a film out called Carol of the Bells, and it's making its way to theaters around the United States beginning in December. His film company, Inclusion Films, was founded in 2007 and teaches filmmaking to individuals with developmental disabilities in 5 dedicated production studios throughout California. So we talk about his film, we talk about his film company, and just things in general. And then we've got Mike Cochnar. And Mike is a director-writer, and his film is called Addicted to You, which is a romantic comedy. And it was available February 14th on digital and DVD from Leo Mark Studios. It stars Shane Hartline, Kat Alder, and Melissa Paulo. Written and directed, I should say co-written and directed by Mike Cochnar. And then after the interviews, we've got 2 tracks to play, one from Music X-Ray submissions and one from Music Submit submissions. The first track is from Music X-Ray. It's called Roads, and the artist's name is Dominic Dima. And the second track is called Silence by Renee Miller, and that came through Music Submit. Thank you to everyone who has been submitting on Music X-Ray and Music Submit. We're getting lots of great music and very happy to play it. If you are a musician and you're looking for some extra publicity or promotion for your track, please check out our complete radio promotional package. We offer for 4 weeks. We will play your track on our show. You will also get a 15-minute interview to promote your album, single, upcoming gigs, or anything you wish to talk about. Your photo, bio, and links will be on our website under our featured music artists section. And once your 4 weeks is up, the shows that featured your track will permanently archive over all of our online platforms. You get all this for $49.99. Check out our website for more details, douglascolemanshow.com, and click on the complete radio promotional package link. And there you will find all the information you need to submit your track. So with that, we will be right back with Joey Travolta.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions. And you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
Okay, please welcome to The Douglas Coleman Show, Joey Travolta. Hey, Joey, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start with you. You've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
I remember you in Beverly Hills Cop 3. And,
okay. In my acting days, yes.
Yeah, and then even going back further than that, didn't you put out an album or something in the 70s?
I did 3 albums in that time. I did one on Casablanca Records, one on Millennium Records, and then the last album I did was on, Sugar Hill Records.
Oh, all right.
But then I got in, yeah. So, but then I got in to directing, and that kind of took over my life. But before all that, I was a special ed teacher.
Okay. All right. Well, that kind of coincides with your film company and the new movie that you're promoting. You started out as a special ed teacher, and then you were going into singing?
Yeah. And then from singing, I did, I think the first movie I did was a movie called Sunnyside. in 78, 79. And then I started doing some producing and writing, and then once I started directing, that kind of took everything over. And then back in 2003, I started getting back into education and working with kids again.
Yeah, okay. What kind of music were you doing in those albums?
Oh, it was pop. It was pop. I mean, they always tried to put a disco beat to it, but I mean, it was pretty pop, pop music at that time. But now the pop music back then now is probably like Christian music today.
Well,
I would think, when I
yeah.
listen to Christmas music, it sounds like pop in the late 70s, early 80s.
Well,
now, you're a music guy, right?
Yeah, I'm a musician. The whole industry has been turned upside down since the 70s. It doesn't even resemble what it was back then, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I was fortunate enough to get to the tail end of, like, the big promotion. Neil Bogart was the guy that I was on his label. And at that time, they had Kiss, and they had Donna Summers, and back when they used to do like a lot of big promotions and stuff like that. But the whole way they do things now has totally changed, as you know.
Now, didn't your brother John, didn't he put out an album as well around that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did. He had a thing called Let Her In that was with Midsong Records, I think it was the label that he was on. And then he had the stuff from Greece and from Greece, singing Greece and other things too. But and then my sister Margaret was the first one to have a single out back in 60 something. Yeah, I remember going to the record store and it being in the local records. I think she was like, do you remember the show Hullabaloo?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah, it was, back in the 60s. I think it was out of Ohio, and she was on that show. She was really the first one to have a record out.
So how many people in your family are in the entertainment industry?
6. And my sister Ellen was Charles in Charge, the mother on that. And Joni Loves Chachi, and also, what was the other one? Oh, the big one. The Fonz. What is it? Happy Days.
Happy Days, yeah.
So she played Scott Baio's mom on 3 different series.
Okay.
And then she did other stuff. She did a lot of acting and stuff like that. And my sister Margaret was like was the commercial king of Chicago for years. She made a nice living doing commercials. And then my sister Annie did theater and TV, and my brother Sammy acts too. And so that's everybody in John,
So are you the oldest?
No, my Ellen is the oldest. I am the next to youngest. John is the baby of the family.
And John is the baby. Okay. All right.
He was the baby. Well, I was the baby, and then John came, and then he became the baby. But he
Funny
was
how
an
that works.
unexpected baby because my mom was like 40, I think 3 at the time.
Oh, okay.
In the 50s, you usually stop having kids in your late 30s. So, but he was some surprise.
Yeah, that's unusual, especially back then, to be having babies in your 40s. Didn't happen that much. Yeah. So let's talk about your new film then, called Carol of the Bells. I did watch the trailer.
Okay.
Looks really interesting. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the story and how you kind of got involved with it?
Well, I my life now, I have 2 businesses. I run camps around the country, and I've been doing this since 2006, filmmaking camps for kids with autism. And that I do during the summer. Then year-round, we have several studios in California where we train adults with developmental disabilities. And it's funded through the state of California, and we train them, and then we try to get them work afterwards. But we do our own projects because we have a production company that produces and hires the folks that are in the program or go through the program. And we usually do short films. We create the scripts, and then the scripts become the lesson plan. And about a year and a half ago, actually 2 years now, I was at the Bentonville Film Festival, and I said, you know what, I want to do a feature now. And Gail Williamson, who is an agent for folks that are with different abilities, and I said, do you have a script that's simple to do and, small cast, but story with a lot of heart? And she says, I do. I said, because I want to do it with all the programs. So we set it up where each of the programs around the state sent a pro and sent 2 students that were ready to work. So we had 5 different facilities contributing. They all handled the expenses of their crew. I handled the expenses of mine, and we threw in some cash to pay for the talent. And we shot it in Bakersfield, and basically the story is about a young man who is in search of his birth mother, and that's R.J. Mitty from Breaking Bad. And when he finally finds her, he finds out she has a developmental disability. And his whole, world is kind of turned upside down because he always had this hostility, and now it's just changed everything for him. And that's the crux of the story. It's about someone with a disability. 70% of the crew were made up of students that we trained, that were all paid and got per diem and got to be on the road and work on a feature film.
Oh, that's fantastic. The trailer, there was one part about it that was interesting, was that the mother, whose mother was it, that was sort of running the show that didn't want him to get reappointed?
The Carol, who is our lead character, she's the mother. Her mother is Donna Mills, and they run a facility for folks with different abilities that are neurodiverse. And that's when he goes and finds her there. And, I can't give up more of the story, but she is Carol's mother and doesn't want them to pursue a relationship with her.
All right. Yeah, we don't want to spoil the whole thing, but
yeah,
all I saw was the trailer, so now I'm interested in watching the rest of the film. I'll get there, yeah.
It's a sweet story. It's just, the story is beautiful, but how it was made is just as beautiful when you know what went into it. And, what I'm trying to prove is that when someone's given an opportunity, what can happen. So now we've gotten all together and showed that these guys and girls can work, and now we're creating something of value, and both monetarily and even more so a social impact on people, and making them aware that this can happen when given an opportunity. And the doors are really opening from this film. We had several of our students get work on the Dr. Phil and the Doctor Show, and there's a new series called Special that just hired a couple of our folks, and the doors are being broke down, and it's taken a while to do it.
Is this another one of those things? I know other people have talked about that when you see the Oscars and, you get, sometimes it's political, but other times they say, well, there's not enough people of color in these films, and there's not enough Asians in these films, and there's not enough. Is this another one, or is this really genuine that they just...
No, this is this story, if you went and tried to get it financed, they want to know, well, do you have big names to go in there? This is a true labor of love to show what this population can do. But the cherry on top, it's a good story. It's a good script, and all the actors did a really, really nice job. And, we've been getting really nice notices, and, we've been in a couple of film festivals. We've won Audience Choice at the San Diego Film Festival, which was a big deal. I mean, we're a tiny film.
Oh, that's great. Do you know somebody named Matt Best?
Matt Best. How would I know him?
He made a film.
Sounds familiar.
He made a film called Range 15. William Shatner was in it, and oh God, I can't think of who else. William Shatner is the only one that comes to mind. Matt Best is a veteran of several wars, and he runs a film company. He used a whole bunch of disabled veterans in the film, like 60% of the cast is
cool.
So it just kind of reminded me of him. He was on the show a couple of years ago. I interviewed him when his movie was premiering, and same kind of deal, where the cast was all disabled veterans and veterans that were missing arms and legs. And I mean, it was it was a funny film. It was kind of a spoof film, but the company he runs is great. And so
where are they out of?
Oh, where is he out of? I think he's in Texas.
Oh, okay.
He also has a coffee company, and he's got all kinds of stuff going.
The what company?
A coffee company called Black Rifle Coffee. And
yeah, because we had been talking about doing things with vets with disabilities, because we train. So we had talked about doing that, and I have been looking into it. I'd love for you to introduce us. It might be a nice conversation now.
Oh yeah, I could do that. That's no problem. We'll do that after the show. We'll talk about it. I can give you his email, or I'll send him an email, whatever. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I don't know how much film he's doing these days, but that was one project he did, and it was a good film. Let's see.
Oh, that's cool.
What else? So how did you get started? You said that you started out as a teacher for kids with special needs, right?
Yes.
Was
I promised my dad. It's my dad. My dad was the most inclusive person that I've ever met in my life, and that was the gift that he gave all us kids. The gift of inclusion, the gift of living a diverse life, and being accepting of everybody. Everybody was treated equally. And that's one of the things that I loved about filmmaking, is that you have this group of individuals that are all working together to make a film, and everybody has distinct jobs to do it, but they're all so supportive of each other, and it becomes like a family. And that's what I loved about filmmaking, and bringing it all together and all working together and making it like a family. And that's the way my dad was with the neighborhood. Everybody was like part of a family. Anybody that came to our house was welcome. So that's where the seed came. And I promised my dad I would get a degree. And at that time, the degrees that were open were the jobs that were open were in special ed. And I was always kind of the protector of the special ed kids in high school. So it was a natural fit for me.
So any other projects you're working on or going to be? Anything in
Yeah, well, we're talking about doing a series based around the camps. So when I do my camps, I always take 4 or 5 of our students out on the road with us, and we're talking about doing a series this summer, just following them around, intercut with the camps and their journey going on the road, and having per diem, and taking, managing it, and going to work, and then applying what they learned at the film workshops. at the film camp. So we're playing with that, and right now, we're looking forward to the March 3rd release, and the production company has got quite a few projects going where we get to hire our folks. Anytime I do a gig, because we do commercials, we do documentaries, promotional videos, more than half my staff has some kind of a special need, and we're giving them those job opportunities. I liken it to the minor leagues of baseball. It's where you can make a mistake, but you're still getting paid to do a job, and you're under the tutelage of our teachers. So, it's fun. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do.
Give me a quick overview of what you would do in the 3 weeks at the film camp for the kids.
It's 2-week camp.
2 week, okay.
2 weekends. So the camp, basically what the camps are, is each year we have a theme. It's usually 50 kids in the camp. We break them into 3 groups, each group has a teacher, and I bring this crew around with me. Day one, everybody splits up into the groups, and we usually have some kind of theme. I don't know what's going to be this year, but last year was you can't judge a book by the cover. And we made PSAs like that, and the movies had that theme in them. So day 2 and 3, I do interviews with all the campers while they're developing their scripts. Then on Thursday morning, I go into each group and they have to pitch me their concept and I have to approve it. Then once I approve it, they go off and make their film. Each of them have like a day and a half to make their short film. And then we get B-roll of all of that. So the final product is some kind of theme, whatever the show is. First half hour is documentary, which documents their pitching, their interviews, their behind the scenes of their making of the film. That's the first half hour. Then the second half hour is the actual show. So last year we did the theme, So You Think You Can Make a Movie. And it's a vehicle to show the films. So we'd have our, each group would have like a judge, and each group would pitch their film, then we'd show the film, and in between they do commercials and PSAs. So every time there was a break, it would be each group, a different group's PSA or commercial. And that's the hour show. It usually ends up being about an hour.
Can people watch these films? I mean, are they available somewhere?
Yeah. We also have a thing called the Inclusion Networks, and basically it's a subscription-based company that all our content is on there, and some of the camps are on there too. And I think if they go to the website inclusionfilms.com and they go around that, I think there's some links to some of the camps there as well.
Oh, super! Inclusionfilms.com. Okay, I want to.
That's my website, but it's called Inclusion Network.
Inclusion Network.
Inclusion Network.
Okay. No, I want to.
That's the subscription-based company.
I want to add that to the show notes when we post this interview, so people can.
And then, as you
click
know, the film is released on our website. I think there's a page for Carol of the Bells because it's being released March 3rd, and we really need the support. It'll be on all different platforms on March 3rd.
Okay, is it screening anywhere?
Well, we had a small theatrical back in December, and now all the platforms are being released, and then it'll go to TV at Christmas next year. But right now, it's available on I guess whatever the streaming, Amazon, other places that they'll be able to get it. It'll be made available on March 3rd.
Amazon Prime or Netflix, maybe.
Yeah, I think
Roku.
Netflix. Yeah, I don't know about Netflix, but I know I'll make sure that they send you the call to action on that.
Okay, super.
As to where they can get it. Yeah.
All right, Joey. Well, we got to kind of wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming on.
Okay.
Once again,
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's a sweet little film, and I'm very proud of our guys and girls. They did a great job.
And it's called Carol of the Bells. So please check it out. And best of luck with the film. I hope it does very well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on the Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps, record producer. This is my story about Elton John, working with him in those early years, going back to 1967 at Dick James, all the amazing tours, those first recordings, going through to Rocket Records. And it's an amazing story about his incredible rise to stardom and my part in that. So look forward to taking you on that journey. So here we go. Yeah, and to order this great audio CD, please just email me at stuartepps@talk21.com. That's Stuart, S-T-U-A-R-T, Epps, E-P-P-S, at talk, T-A-L-K, 21 in figures.com. Stuart Epps at talk21.com. Email me and I'll give you all the details for buying this brilliant audio disc. Thank you. Bye.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
Tired of living in a culture of lies, fake news, and alternative facts? The Pro-Truth Pledge reverses the tide of lies by calling on politicians, and everyone else, to commit to truth-oriented behaviors. The pledge asks signees to commit to 12 behaviors that research in behavioral science shows lead to truthfulness, such as clarifying one's opinions and the facts, citing one's sources, and celebrating people who update their beliefs toward the truth. Private citizens who sign the pledge get the benefit of contributing to a more truth-oriented society. Public figures get more substantive rewards for signing the pledge in the form of positive media and public recognition. The pledge crowdsources the truth by asking volunteers to evaluate the statements of public figures who sign the pledge. Take the pledge, demand that your elected representatives do so, and encourage your friends to take it at protruthpledge.org.
Are you an independent musician? How would you like to have your songs played on hundreds of radio stations just like the one you're listening to right now? Join MusicSubmit.com and we'll promote your music to radio stations and blogs in your genre. It's free to set up your account, and we guarantee your music will be considered for airplay by radio stations worldwide. Why not sign up today? It's free. MusicSubmit.com. Radio promotion for indie musicians.
And now...
Hey, Rocky! Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat!
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
Wrong hat!
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show, Mike Cochnar. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. I watched your movie a little earlier, and it was very funny. I enjoyed that.
Thank you. Yeah. It was definitely a fun, comedic, independent film, and I'm really proud with the end product.
We didn't get a big bio on you from your people. Why don't you give us a little bit of your backstory, and then we can talk about the film a bit.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I am from a small town in Nebraska, and so I grew up with not a lot of resources when it comes to filmmaking. So a lot of that came from just the kind of creative mindset that I had and really trying to figure things out on my own. After I went through school and college, I ended up doing a short stint out on the East Coast in New York, and then ended up in Los Angeles, where I really pursued comedy writing and filmmaking, and that landed me at a lot of different comedy clubs in Los Angeles, meeting with a lot of comedians and improvisers and actors, and really throughout that time honing my skills with sketch comedy writing. And then from there, just learning kind of the screenplay writing, and then that, in time turned into filming bigger projects. And so here I am now. I just finished my first feature film, and as I said before, I'm really proud with how it turned out, considering low budget features are not an easy task to pull off, and we did it. So,
were you doing stand-up work as a comedian?
I did a little stand-up work, but as I started working with more and more comedians and especially improvisers, I realized that I had a more fun writing material for other people than I did than performing it myself. So that's when I really took kind of a hard look at, well, you know what, these people are really funny. Like, I'm okay, but these people are really funny. I'm going to write for these people. So that's kind of how that kind of progressed for me, and I kind of haven't looked back since then.
You were also the writer on this film as well as the director, correct?
That's right. Yeah, I was I was a co-writer on the film. It kind of initiated as my original script, and then I brought a couple of close comedic writing friends in with me to finish the product that then became the film.
Was there any kind of a trigger or something that inspired you to write this story, or something that came up? I mean, was there any true to life parts of this that maybe had happened in your own life or something like that sort of inspired it?
Right. Well, just because of the sort of subject matter of it, the protagonist character, essentially, spoiler alert, but, lying about sex addiction to get out of a relationship. That's a very kind of obnoxious idea. What it stemmed from is a friend of mine from college who was very much the guy that would go out and, he would date everybody. And the kind of joke that came from that was, well, what happens if this guy, if he got into a relationship he couldn't get out of? And so from there, it kind of stemmed of how would that happen? How would he get out of this relationship? And that's kind of where the initial idea came from. And then over time, it kind of evolved into the plot that you see. So I would say for me, it's definitely, it wasn't like an experience that I lived through. It was more of oh, this is an idea. And more of what comes out from me specifically is, I think, some of the dialogue and some of the characteristics of multiple characters within the film. And that for me is where I had a lot of fun just with the dialogue writing and some of those relationships, because that's what's always important to me to see in a film, is the relationships and the character development, and really grounding the characters in reality. So that's, for me, what was the fun part.
The characters in that film were great because I think anybody could relate to at least one of them, because you had so many diverse characters from all aspects of life. Somebody in their lifetime has met one of those people, at the office, right, or, wherever. But in fact, I think I've met maybe 3 or 4 of the characters that were in there. So I definitely could relate. The one guy, and I don't know his name, but he was the counselor at the sex addict group.
Mm-hmm.
He is a spitting image of a very young Jerry Lee Lewis. Like, if they ever did a remake of Great Balls of Fire, he could play the young Jerry Lee Lewis, like when he was in his 20s. God, he just looked just like him. I don't know. I'm not sure.
That's funny. Yeah, so that actor's name is Michael Klimkowski, and I met him through a show that I was writing for, a sketch comedy show at the Second City in Hollywood. And he is just a hysterical guy. He's freakishly tall too. He's like 6'4", 6'5", something like that. So he towers above everybody, and he does a spitting image impression of Joel Osteen. Which is sort of where I definitely wanted him to channel his Joel Osteen in this whole thing. And funny enough, if you look up Michael Klimkowski, he does an entire web series of him impersonating Joel Osteen. And actually, there's this one viral video that came out where he's actually playing him in Texas at one of Joel Osteen's churches, and actually gets past security as Joel Osteen. It's very funny. But anyways, yeah, he's one of many great and talented comedic actors that we have in the film. So
yeah, he was very funny. One of the scenes that, and this is always a hard thing to do on a radio show, I have many filmmakers and screenwriters and things on the show, and it's trying to talk about a film without giving too much away. But the good thing about doing it on radio is that sometimes if you do it right, it inspires people to watch it because they'll say, oh, I got to go check out that scene that they were talking about. So the one scene that particularly gave me a chuckle was right at the very beginning when they all meet up at the bar. And the one guy, he turns around real quick and slips the wedding ring on his finger. And then the way he just put his hand on the table, like this over-exaggerated sort of hand movement. It was really very funny. Did you write that part, or did he do that on his own?
No, yeah, we wrote that we wanted each one of the characters. There's two friends that are characters of our lead protagonist. And then obviously it kind of points out that their whole game is like find a way to, hook up. It's always got to be a new and fresh and exciting, game for them to play. And the game for the character of Garrett Mendez, who's the actor that plays that part, his whole tactic that evening was to pretend that he was married. And so that was, when he decides, okay, I'm gonna go after this girl, and I'm gonna slip on this wedding ring and pretend that I'm married. So the whole, exactly as you mentioned, the whole hand gesture of just setting down so very, very obviously to show off his wedding ring as his tactic was very much intentional. And funny tidbit is that was actually my wedding ring that the actor was wearing because he wasn't married, and that's when we were filming, we were like, oh no, we forgot the wedding ring prop, so he's wearing my wedding ring. So
well, there you go. Did you actually have to go to any sex addict meetings for research on this film, or was that strictly out of kind of sort of the stereotype of any of the 12-step programs for any kind of addiction?
Sure. So, well, first of all, we did take advice when we had the script sort of in its initial state. We shared it with a few people that have been involved with certain programs like that we knew, and to just try to make sure we got some of the things right. And the other part was somebody else that was involved with the film, one of the co-writers, he actually attended a few sex addiction meetings to check them out, see if what we were doing was right, and so that kind of, both of those things together kind of set us on the right path of making sure that we were not being disrespectful, but at the same time playing kind of lightly around the tones and the things that we were wanting to get away with in the scenes. So
it was interesting because you could sort of make a spoof on it. You did it well. I mean, you spoofed it without insulting it, and I think that probably was a bit of a tightrope to walk, because sometimes spoofs will just take things way too far to where you're making a mockery of the whole thing. But you guys really didn't. You kept it sort of dignified but funny at the same time.
Right. Well, and part of it was for us too. It's like, there's so many. I mean, a lot of the comedic, especially romantic comedy, and now kind of coined romantic comedy films that you see out there. All of it's about sex. American Pie, it's about sex. Knocked Up with Seth Rogen, it's about sex. So we're taking that and really making the crux of the film about sex addiction. And the lie about sex addiction. And, there's a couple films that have touched on that a little bit, but never as one of the main plot points of what's going on. So I felt that with that idea, it was kind of a little playing with fire, but at the same time, like you mentioned, we definitely wanted to be respectful. We definitely didn't want to make a mockery at all. But I think that what we ended up with in the end was, focusing on the characters and making sure each one of those characters really had, kind of their own backstory. And it's really hard, as you mentioned before, with a film that has so many characters. And that's one of the things that, it's first time feature filmmakers, you usually see a film with 4, 5, 6 characters, but we went with a film that had, 20 plus characters. So all those character arcs were really important to just go back to again and again and again to try to really figure out. And, maybe something's never ever perfect, but we definitely tried to nail that as much as we could.
Well, I think you guys did a good job. It's interesting that in the music industry and in the film industry that love always seems to be the most buyable commodity as a subject matter. And it has been, I think, basically since the beginning of recorded music or music in general and film. And I always thought that if mankind ever resolved the conflict and mysteries of what love is all about, it would just put the film and music industry right out of business, because there would be nothing for people to write about anymore. You know, if we solved that problem.
Right.
But as long as people get into love and get through all the torments and conflicts, and, you know, there'll be endless fodder for screenwriters and songwriters. That's probably a good thing.
Well, you know, I think it's just such an obviously relatable subject matter, because whether it's romantic love or simply the love of friendship and wanting to be accepted by maybe your peers or whatever it may be, everybody wants that connection. And I think that that's really what it comes down to, that humanizes all of us, is love, you know, that love factor. And there's so many ways to tell a love story, and you know, I think that we just found you know, a little unique way to tell a modern love story. And you know, in today's day and age, especially in a big city like Los Angeles, you know, and this became part of a plot point towards the end of the film, which is that everybody wants to be loved, and some people are just too stubborn to admit it. And I think that that's really kind of the barrier that we were trying to kind of break down a little bit, is just like, hey, it's okay to communicate with other people. It's okay to admit that you've messed up and to start over with a friend or with a romantic interest. And that's really, for me, what I wanted to, you know, have come across at the end of the film. And I think that when people sit and they watch the full film, they're like, okay, yeah, that made me feel good, you know? So I think all in all, that kind of made it a win. So
I guess my last question is, as far as for screenwriters, because I know we get a lot of them on the show. Do you have any advice for aspiring screenwriters? Because people have asked on the show, you know, well, how do I sell my script? How do I shop my script? And there isn't one particular answer. I mean, with music, there are channels for it. With film, there are places you can take your film. But for a script, it's more vague on, you know, what do you do with it? Any advice?
Right. Well, you know, my advice to where I'm at so far, because, you know, in this industry, it's stepping stones. You know, I'm still always learning. There's still things that I want to do and achieve and get my scripts into bigger studios and to bigger hands and to, you know, A-list talent and things like that. And so those are my goals. That's what I'm reaching for. But as you said before, every person's different. You know, every person, it's, you know, they have their own unique story. And for me, I guess what I would say to people is, don't compare yourself to the person sitting next to you, because they have a totally different background. They have a totally different set of skills than maybe you do. You know, I hone in on the skills that I have, and I focus my time on really trying to, you know, write content that is appealing to me, and that I know and that I'm comfortable with. And so for me, what I would say to people is that just write. You know, if you're trying to write a screenplay, well, write the screenplay, and then people will read it. Get people to get their eyes on it. You know, rewrite it. You know, take a month away from it, and then come back to it and read it and see how you feel about it. Really came into effect after I had my first daughter. I didn't have as much time to go out to the comedy clubs and do, you know, a bunch of things out in public. So I was at home a lot, and the great thing was that I could sit and write. And so that's for me where I really started to hone in on those skills. And so now, you know, I'm really ready to jump into the next project and the next project after that. So it's just a matter of, you know, kind of where you're willing to put in the time, and then from that, you know, the kind of chances you're willing to take on your own, then will lead to more opportunities, I say.
Okay, well, that's good advice. Mike, we got to kind of wrap this up. Thank you for coming on the show. My guest is Mike Cochnar, and the film is called Addicted to You. It came out February 14th on digital and DVD.
That's right.
Yeah? Okay. So,
yeah, it's streaming now on Amazon and Fandango now, and you can also buy the DVD off of Amazon. So.
Okay, well, Mike, thanks again for coming on. It was nice talking to you, and best of luck with the film. I hope it does well. I enjoyed it. It was very funny.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, this is John Morgan, production supervisor for DJC Productions, and you're listening to The Douglas Coleman Show.
I hear the asphalt scraping by, like so many of our lives, where the rubber hits the road, no contact by phone, a place where the moonlight guides, by the light of fireflies, and we all get lost, it seems, trying to find someone to be with. Why do I feel so alone? Please help me find my way to a place I've never known. Somewhere there's a need for a missing puzzle piece. Where my love is gone, oh, take me home, just take me home, just take me home. Soul searching takes purpose through the chaos of the circus, of a life we all endure, when we all feel unsure, when the walls come crashing down, and no one else is around, but tomorrow brings hope, just to know that you're not alone. You're not alone. I can't do this on my own. Please help me find my way to a place I've never known. Somewhere there's a need for a missing puzzle piece, where there's peace in my soul. Oh, take me home, just take me home, just take me home. On and on the story goes, eyes feel like I'm on my own. I drive until there's nothing left, I run until I'm out of breath. I stay the course. Words broken, flames burning out, my arms open. I'm reaching out, every tear and every smile is safe. Both falling, no gravity, high walls and lost sanity, but every tear and every smile is safe. If you hold me in the silence, nobody can find us. Let's decide to stay, we should ride the wave for now. Just hold me in the silence, nobody can find us. We don't have to go, we should mend our souls right now. Here in the silence. Lost chances, no afterglow. Strong fences won't let you go, but every tear and every smile is safe. If you hold me in the silence, nobody can find us. Let's decide to stay, we should ride the wave for now. Just hold me in the silence, nobody can find us. We don't have to go, we should mend our souls right now. Here in the silence, here in the silence, here in the silence, oh, here in the silence. Words broken, flames burning out, my arms open. I'm reaching out, every tear and every smile is safe.
Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guests, Joey Travolta and Mike Cochnar. Thank you very much, guys. Best of luck with your respective films. I hope they do very well. Also, thank you to Dominic Dima and Renee Miller for their music. This is Douglas Coleman saying I'll see ya later.